where I'm at. I think the Miami Heat has the most traction, and I think they have the best assets. They just can't play themselves. They can't shoot themselves in the foot and overdo it, because that's really gonna be the issue. Like if they overthink it like they've done in the past with Dame, the Jimmy Butler thing, where they just like, no, we gonna hold on, we gonna try to make this work. They'll be stupid. What the Miami Heat need to do, in my opinion, now they don't necessarily have to do this, but I think it would help get the deal done now versus Golden State. I'm sorry, not Golden State. Versus the Bucks taking it to the off season and trying to like find more suitors. I think they could get this done in a shorter term, right? So, for example, all right, now today, breaking news, if y'all haven't heard, Terry Rozier, I don't want to say he was cleared from the investigation because I don't really know, but I guess he took his salary issue to an arbitrator. The union took his salary issue to an arbitrator. The arbitrator ruled in his favor, so he will be receiving his money this year, which is upwards of $26 million. Now that's $26 million expired, if I'm not mistaken. So I got some dice and I got some cards. Let me know if you're trying to play pity pat, Terry. Let's get this money. Let's see. So they're going to be probably looking to move that contract as well as expiring contract. They probably just don't want to let him walk for nothing. You know what I'm saying? You probably want to use that to see if you could maybe take on some bad money, take on another asset to potentially send to the Bucks. And that's where the Pelicans come in. Because anyone taking on Terry Rozier contract, they're not looking for Terry to play. They're just looking for Terry to become a free agent and get that money off the books. Now, here's the deal I'm proposing. This is me. I'm proposing this has to be done by the deadline. You can't go into the offseason with this deal. The Pelicans will receive Terry Rozier, his expiring for $26 million, Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, and Kel'el Ware. Now, the crown jewels of this trade would be Kel'el Ware and Terry Rozier is expiring. Now, and the Pelicans, in exchange for that swap for the 27 Milwaukee Bucks pick, because remember, that 27 Milwaukee Bucks pick pretty much belongs to the Pelicans. It's top 4 protected. So if it lands in the top 4 and the Pelicans' own pick gets to land in the top 4, the Pelicans keep both of those picks. If the Milwaukee Bucks pick, the most simple way to put it is, if that pick lands in the top 4, the Pelicans get to keep it, basically. And they'll choose between trading their own pick to Atlanta. Whatever the worst pick is, Atlanta will get that pick, to my understanding. If both of those picks land in the top 4, the Pelicans keep both picks. Atlanta don't get shit. The trade doesn't convey. So, all right. So, in exchange for that 27 pick, for Milwaukee to get their rights back to that pick, you're pretty much selling that pick back to the Miami Heat. And the Miami Heat, in exchange for that pick, they are giving you the 2026 first rounder, which is this year, which, the Pelicans are just hard-pressed to get back after trading, their first unnecessarily. 2 second-round picks and a 2028 first-round pick. 2028 first-round pick. The Milwaukee Bucks. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Milwaukee Bucks will get Milwaukee native Jordan Poole. Pelicans get to clear that money a year early. Get to clear Terry Rozier's money. They basically create some cap space going into the summer. Now, this deal gets better for the Pelicans as it goes on. To me, this is one of those deals where everyone wins, in my opinion. All right, so you have Tyler Hero, of course, coming from the Miami Heat, going to the Milwaukee Bucks. Andrew Wiggins. Now, of course, and the Bucks also can probably expand this trade and send those guys somewhere else and accumulate even more assets. Because if I were them, that's what I would be trying to do. Because if they're getting their own pick back in 27, they're probably going to want to tank, right? So they'll be getting a 27 pick back. They'll be getting a 29 first from the Heat. They'll be getting a 31 first from the Heat. Let's just call 32 swap, right? Let's call 32 a swap. Now, the Miami Heat, they're getting Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're getting DeJounte Murray. Because, hey, look, that's the deal. The reason I'm taking Terry Rozier back is I'm giving you DeJounte Murray. I'm giving you a guy who can play. I'm giving you a guy who actually can play. He's healthy. He can play. Y'all can get this ball rolling going into next season. I'm giving you some competent guard play when he's healthy. Former All-Star guy. I'm sure he's familiar with Pat Riley. I'm sure Popovich will put in a good word with him, with Pat Riley, with Coach Spo. I'm sure the relationship is there, right? I'm sure they're aware of one another. Also, Miami played against him several times last year. He was busting Miami ass last year. Not last year, year before last in the play. Well, not in the playoffs, in the regular season. He was busting Miami ass when he was with the Hawks. He was busting the ass. You got Kevon Looney, $8 million expiring. Since you're sending Khalil Ware, who you hate, you take back Kevon Looney, veteran presence. He's on $8 million. He got a team option for the next year. You could just opt out of that team option, decline the option, let him be a free agent, whatever. Or you can pick it up and you got a veteran championship guy kind of giving you some of that Udonis Haslem. Jordan Hawkins is more so just a salary throw in to make everything work. If you want to add in Jose Alvarado instead of Jordan Hawkins, whatever. Like, I ain't really tripping. I would prefer it to be Jordan Hawkins, though, because Jordan Hawkins is making $7 million next year. Now, what do you guys think about this deal? And, of course, Miami Heat will receive no picks in this deal. The Pelicans, who are my favorite team, who I'm biased towards, the Pelicans will receive 2 firsts, 2 seconds, Khalil Ware, and salary cap space this upcoming off season in exchange for giving back the Bucks their 27 pick, which could potentially be a top pick. So that's what you got to think about it if you're the Pelicans, because that 27 pick could potentially be a top pick. Jordan Poole, the Bucks get Tyler Hero, Andrew Wiggins. Those 2 guys, they can turn into assets. Jordan Poole, they can let expire, take on bad contracts into that salary cap space. And you got 3 other firsts for your troubles, and who knows what other swaps the Miami Heat may include. Miami, they become relevant once again with Giannis. You get DeJounte, who can still play. You get Kevon Looney, who's going to, championship guy, but who may fall off the books. You get Jordan Hawkins. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. Let me see here. You got Giannis being a Miami Heat in the next 48 hours. I think they have the best shot at it if he is traded by the deadline. Jack and Margella say they should trade Fears before the rest of the league catches on. Fears 19. Fears 19. I wouldn't really worry about him too much. He also got a bunk coach, though. That's the bigger problem, in my opinion. Poet Cap said Rozier basically tradable now. Yep, facts. B. Thomas said anywhere on the Pelicans making any moves or they think they championship ready. I absolutely don't think they think they're championship ready. Louisiana gal, what she mentioned earlier, as it pertains to the Kings kind of messing up the market. Not, it's the Kings and what happened with Atlanta, because the Kings basically had to attach Keon Ellis to get off of Dennis Schroeder. They received DeAndre Hunter in exchange, but DeAndre Hunter at this point is probably a bad contract. A relatively bad contract. I think he's 28 also, which in the basketball years is like, the upside ain't really gonna be there. But I think the reason, 2 reasons why you haven't heard too much about the Pelicans is 3 reasons. For one, the Pelicans don't talk to anyone. Everything you heard about the Pelicans is coming from second and third parties. Like, the Pelicans don't really put shit out there and talk to people necessarily. This is a very quiet, paranoid regime. They not really, volunteering information like that. That's why you don't see a lot of local beat people like breaking news. They're pretty much just echoing the shit that the national people have said. And lastly, it's like, this market stinks. Like, there's no way in hell you getting no fucking 2 firsts for Herb Jones right now. This market is trash. This is a buyer's market. But that should encourage the Pelicans to try to buy or become a part of a team that's looking to buy, like Miami Heat. If they can offload a couple of bad contracts, particularly one bad contract in DeJounte Murray, and, probably give themselves some expiring salary going into the offseason, or create some roster spots, address that center position, restock the war chest, quote unquote. The Pelicans got avenues to set themselves up really nice going into the offseason. Because the way I see it, one of these positions got to be cheap. You either got to find cheap shooting, a cheap center, or a cheap starting point guard. Like, one of them positions got to be cheap. One of them got to outplay their contract. If you get Khalil Ware, you address center. Now you can spend on the shooting. You can spend on the point guard position, because you still got yourself set up in this scenario to go out and make other deals. Because you still, if you were interested in Ja Morant, for example, if you're the Pelicans, you still can go get Ja Morant. You can expand this deal in theory and get Ja Morant. Like, there's avenues to do that. Let me read some of these comments. Say, this would be close to a perfect deal, Chaz. Get Ware, get a first, and get off Poole DeJounte money. Facts. Just tweak and say, we're not going to get Ware, but I'll take Kuzma because of his size. I don't know. I haven't really liked Kuzma much since he left the Lakers, to be honest. Denzel, what up with you, bro? He said, "Yo, what's good, Chaz? Heading to sleep. Gonna watch this in the morning. Prayers and blessings to you, brother. Got meetings in the morning. Yes, indeed, man. Prayers and blessings to you as well. Good luck with the meetings tomorrow." Jaden said, "Not a bad idea. Trade from you, Chaz. Both trade ideas are great, very great. I would do either one. Appreciate you, fam." Spectacular said, "If we're gonna get Khalil Webb, would you feel comfortable trading E for Mathurin?" Yes, Spectacular Inside, I would. My only issue with E for Mathurin is I gotta pay Ben Mathurin, and I know Ben Mathurin gonna want 20 plus million. I know Ben Mathurin gonna want 20 plus million, and that's the paranoia for me. Louisiana Gal say Harden might get traded, which could open up a spot for DeJounte to get traded to. Yeah, unless like King say, unless he get traded for Garland, which may be interesting. I would have to look at Harden's contract because you got to remember the Cleveland Cavaliers can't, if I'm not mistaken, they still can't join salaries. It still would have to be a 1-for-1 trade if I'm not mistaken, because I believe they're still above the second apron. So they would have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they would have to find someone to take Lonzo into cap space. So they have to call the Nets or somebody, if I'm not mistaken, to take Lonzo into like cap space. That might get them below the second apron. And if that's the case, you may be able to do a Garland for Harden deal. But that wouldn't make no sense for the Clippers. That would only really help Cleveland. Because if you're the Clippers, Garland always hurt. So, King, who reported that? Who reported that, King? It's one person. There's one person who I don't trust nothing they report. But if it was like, Stein or somebody, I had to give it the benefit of the doubt. GSP said, why the game was earlier today.